Okay, so I am finishing James chapter 5 now. I just read through again the very last section of James chapter 5, and I think the verses will be in the description of this video. So I am captured because when I was listening to a commentator about James, he was talking about the idea that sometimes we think of James as this kind of laundry list of things we have to do, but in reality it's really more like a New Testament Proverbs, especially here at the end, because James takes some time to kind of address little things that people are struggling with and trying to understand. And I think we can either get caught up in the do's and don'ts, which is probably not what James is talking about, because he over and over talks about faith and works working together, not just do this, don't do that. But he does list several things. One of them is like if you're sick or hurting, to call the elders and have them pray. He also talks about confessing your sin. Basically, these are at least those two. I think there's one more there. I can't remember it right this second. I might write it into the comments. But there's another one there. Anyway, these are just like natural outflowings of the lifestyle that James has been advocating for. And I think it's super interesting to talk about how James, again, was the brother of Jesus. So, half-brother. And so this creates some understanding for him. He's worked out his salvation and the relationship he has with the Lord. And so that's kind of the end of James for me. I know that there's probably a ton more, and I haven't spent tons of time doing word studies and all that stuff, although I have looked at multiple versions, and when something has stood out to me, I've tried to look deeper at it and listen to some commentators on the truth about the scripture. And that's, I think, super interesting part, and I keep saying super interesting because I'm not super interesting. I think super valuable, how's that? I look at my thesaurus, is that we understand that we're all in a process of understanding the scripture, and things change as we go on. And I understand the book of James in a very different way than I did when I first read it when I was a new believer, because I only saw all the judgment pieces, all the pieces where things were not right in my life in accordance with James's teaching. And so that was really rough. But at that point in my walk, I needed that piece of understanding. And as I've gotten older in my faith, I've understood more and more about how it is not one or the other. It's not about getting your living right. It's about getting your faith right and your living right. And they are not mutually exclusive. I don't always work one direction or the other direction. But they do interplay with each other, and it's dynamic and changing. And so my boring end to this is just an encouragement that if you don't actively get into the scripture yourself, or in the Bible, the pieces of the Bible, the writings of the apostles and the prophets, and if you don't actively do that, then you really don't have a context for knowing the truth as you read, when you do read. So it's important. And I also wanted to say in the end of that there's the grace idea is that the scripture actually says, and I cannot give you the address yet, that we will be measured by the grace we've been given. So that's understanding in my mind. So now my dog's running off and barking at another dog. So here we go. Peace. Have an awesome day.